most of you are probably pretty familiar with headlines like this when it comes to Amir Khan. Right? There have been many, many other similar headlines over the past few years, so I'm not going to go over them here. I'll leave that for my Patreon. I'll be talking about the more controversial aspects of Amir Khan's life, because here on YouTube, for one, I like to focus on the fighters' boxing careers, not so much their personal lives, unless the personal lives are directly impacted on the boxing careers. And for two, the topics, particularly with regards to this latest story, are pretty controversial, and YouTube are very sensitive these days when it comes to dealing with them kind of topics, especially if you've got an opinion that is not politically correct. So I'll talk about, that on Patreon and expand a bit on this particular subject. But what I'm going to talk about here with regards to Khan is whether or not Amir Khan is suffering from some kind of mental condition or brain condition which has been brought on by head trauma. Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about, because Jermaine Taylor is somebody whose behavior has been spiraling out of control, has been deteriorating over the past few years, and it appeared to stem from a series of knockout defeats that he suffered earlier on in his career. If you remember, he was knocked out by Kelly Pavlik, then he was knocked out by Carl Froch, then he was knocked out by Arthur Abraham, and these were all devastating knockout defeats where he took very, very heavy punishment. And he always seemed to be kind of a cool guy, but you never really know how people are unless you know them in person. Somebody can come across as cool on the TV, but when you know them in person, they can be very different. So it's possible that Jermaine Taylor was always a bit off as a person all along, but it's also, but it's still possible that Jermaine Taylor has suffered some kind of injury to his brain, which has altered his behavior or made his behavior deteriorate. And as I say, has that happened to Amir Khan as well? Is Amir Khan's behavior deteriorating? Now, Khan has probably always been a little reckless. Let me just put it that way. In his personal life, I suspect he's always been a little reckless. But the question is he getting more reckless as he gets older? Because generally with people, they tend to get less reckless the older they get, particularly if they're public figures. Yeah? Especially if they're athletes. If they're a rock star or whatever the case may be, then yeah, they might continue to be reckless well on into their 30s. But for an athlete, they usually do all the reckless stuff early on in their career, and then later on in their career, they mature and they get a bit more professional and stuff like that. But with Amir Khan, we haven't seen that. We've seen the reckless behavior actually get worse the longer his career has gone on. And there's all kinds of weird stuff that Amir Khan has been involved in outside of the ring. The whole Anthony Joshua situation was bizarre, accusing Joshua of smashing his wife and all that business. That stuff was bizarre. And you couple that with his constant cheating on his wife, alleged cheating on his wife, all right, with all these different women. I've lost count of the amount of women who have come out in the paper. It seems like every other week a woman is coming out, and sometimes not always a woman, coming out and accusing Amir Khan of flirting with them or sleeping with them and, just cheating on his wife, basically. So Khan could just be somebody with a really high libido. That's perfectly plausible. But when you combine it with all the other behavior and the stalkerish behavior towards Floyd Mayweather as well, I need to throw that into the mix. The way he stalks Mayweather and treats him like Stan in the Eminem song. The way Stan was treating Eminem. That's how Khan is carrying on with Mayweather, and he seemingly never learns from his mistakes. He's always saying how he's a new fighter and he's got a new bionic hand and he's got power now and he's smarter now and he's not making the same old mistakes, but he is making the same old mistakes in the ring and out of the ring. He's a very, very strange character, Amir Khan. I find him very entertaining, but he's a strange character. And on a serious note, I have to ask the question again. Is he suffering from some type of condition, a mental or, brain condition, which has been brought on by head trauma, by all the knockout defeats that he suffered? And again, some people are going to say, no, Khan was always like this. Yes, Khan might have always been reckless in and out of the ring, but is he getting worse? That's the point I'm making. If he's getting worse, if his behavior is getting more reckless and more bizarre, then perhaps what I'm saying is a possibility that he's suffering from something here. CTE is what they call it. I can't pronounce the words exactly because it's a very, very long word, particularly the one that begins with E. But CTE is an acronym for what is colloquially known as punch drunk syndrome, which is not just something that boxers suffer, but many other athletes involved in combat sports suffer from CTE, like rugby, American football, and a whole heap of different combat or contact sports. I should have said contact rather than combat, but yeah, both contact and combat sports. Many athletes throughout the spectrum suffer from CTE, and there's even military veterans who suffer from CTE as well. And CTE can sometimes result in erratic behavior. It's not just the slurred speech, which some people have said Khan is starting to display now, but it's also erratic behavior. In fact, Audley Harrison was stripped of his British license because he was diagnosed with having some type of disorder which was brought about by head trauma. Some of you guys might remember that. In fact, let me Google it now. Let me find out exactly what it was that Harrison had. Yeah, it says here, Audley Harrison retires for second time over effects of head injuries. It says that he suffers from vision and balance problems, moodiness and irritability after consulting with medical specialists. Yeah. His decision was prompted by research into concussion and brain injuries after seeing medical specialists. I've suffered a few traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, and will have to work hard to reverse some of the effects taking punches to the head has brought about to overhaul my health. I have vision problems, vestibular injuries that lead to balance disturbances, and have bouts of serious inability and moodiness that come with TBI recovery. So there you go. Is Khan suffering something similar to this, but maybe more chronic? And different people are going to react in terms of their personality and their behavior in different ways, because we start off as different people, so different conditions can affect us with a varying severity. And again, Khan starting off as a reckless character anyway. If he was to suffer something like Audley, where his mood deteriorates, maybe that's what we're seeing. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Is it time for Amir Khan to retire? In fact, I was speaking to somebody on Facebook, a good friend of mine, and he told me that there was a certain YouTube channel, right, who I won't name because I don't want to put him out there like that, but there was a certain YouTube channel who the guy that runs the channel is apparently friends with Amir Khan, and he put something out on social media once upon a time telling Amir Khan to retire because he thinks Khan is suffering from punch drunk syndrome and that his behavior is deteriorating as a result. Subsequently, this social media post, I think it was actually a video that he put out on social media, subsequently the video was removed But to me, that seemed like a real friend. That seemed like someone who's speaking from the heart, and particularly if he knows Khan in person. And he said apparently in the video that Khan's behavior, even in person, had been deteriorating. So, yeah, that guy seemed like a real friend to me, if that's the case. And maybe he's telling Khan the truth and telling him things that other people should be telling him. Maybe they are telling him that, but if he don't want to listen, what can you do? Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.